Hey, what's going on guys? Matt here, TheBrickWiz, back today again with another video here on the channel. It is Wednesday and we are back here with another episode of Matt's Mind. If you guys aren't familiar with this weekly series here on my channel, basically if you guys have any questions or topics you'd like me to answer or discuss, go ahead and put them down below in the comment section. Of course, go ahead and drop a like on the video before we go ahead and get started. Probably should have pulled up the questions before I started filming. That would be the smart thing to do. Alright, so today we got episode 13 of the video Q&A series, and let's go ahead and get started. First question here is going to be non-Star Wars or Lego related, but it's going to be coming from Color Me Bright. He's asking, have you seen Endgame, and what are your thoughts? Now, without going too much into detail, obviously this is a Star Wars channel, but Endgame was a great movie. I really liked it. I actually went to see it twice already. I'm probably going to go ahead and see it a couple of more times. I do, however, gotta say I was not too happy with a couple of things that sort of sprung up out of nowhere, in my opinion. Biggest thing for me is honestly Captain Marvel. I think her character is super awesome. Like, she has such amazing powers, but she kind of seems rushed upon us. Like, we only got that movie like a month or two ago about Captain Marvel, and then all of a sudden she's playing like a pretty big role in the Avengers Endgame, like literally wrapping up the entire series. The biggest problem I have with Endgame is the fact that she kind of played like a pretty powerful role in the sense that she kind of saved everyone in the end. I just wasn't comfortable with her being a part of that group because we've known all these characters in multiple movies, at least for the most part. And I think that having Captain Marvel kind of sprung up on us in the very last second, especially being the very powerful person that she is, I just felt that wasn't necessarily organic. So that's kind of the only big pet peeve I have with Endgame. I really do love how they kind of closed out everyone's stories, especially Captain America and Tony Stark. I think two of my favorite characters. I also was a little bit upset that Thor was like a fat slob the entire time, and he did help out a lot, but I was just expecting more from my favorite Marvel MCU character. But nonetheless, Endgame was a really great wrap up to the entire series, and I'm very excited for more future content to come from Marvel. Next question comes from Grand Admiral Wolf. If Lego would make a UCS Clone Wars set, what would you choose? Without a doubt, a UCS Venator. I'd love a UCS Venator on the scale that Lego has done the previous UCS Imperial Star Destroyer. I know there are a lot of models, custom models out there. I'll try to put one up on your screen right now. There are a lot of really good ones out there, and I'm waiting for Lego to do one. I think with the whole resurgence of the Clone Wars series and a whole bunch of Clone Era content coming back, I wouldn't be surprised if Lego did eventually go to a UCS Clone Wars set. If I had to choose, again, it'd be a UCS Venator. I think the Venator just looks absolutely amazing. And that, I would go ahead and say maybe an ATTE. I think we have already gotten gunships, and I don't really need a UCS gunship. I'd definitely go with the Venator, and then if not, definitely going to go with the ATTE. Next question comes from Infernal Bricks. If you had to give a clone a nickname, what would it be? Well, the first thing I thought of this question was actually, I thought you were talking about me. So if I was a clone and I had a nickname, it'd definitely just be Wiz. I feel like that's just like a very good sort of quick, easy call sign name to go to. So if I was a clone and I had to pick a name, it'd definitely just be Wiz. Next question comes from Kessel Productions. He's asked, if you could buy any sets that you missed out from your Dark Ages, what would you get? Now, this is a great question because, as you guys know, the quote-unquote golden age of Lego was like a couple of years ago, especially when the Clone Wars stuff was coming out. The prequel sets are great, especially the first time around, second time around, renditions of the gunship and all those kind of like the ATOT, like the dropship. Right there's probably the biggest set and the most desired set that I want from my Dark Ages. I know I missed a lot of great sets. Obviously, the 501st ATRT set was during that wave when I was not necessarily really into Lego. So if I had to go back and choose one set, it'd definitely be the ATOT, the dropship. I think that's just an amazingly done set. And then obviously on a more smaller scale, I'd probably have to go with maybe the 501st ATRT set, but probably something along those lines. Next question here comes from NJ Bricks. What are your overall thoughts on the sequel trilogy, and what are your hopes and thoughts for episode 9? I think the sequel trilogy is great. I think it's fantastic. It's 10 times better than the prequels, so don't at me. But the sequels aren't perfect. I don't think any Star Wars movie that we have gotten is perfect in the sense that there's nothing wrong with it. However, I will say that the sequels have done a really great job of continuing the story that we all fell in love with, obviously, the Skywalker saga. Of course, there are parts to nitpick about. Some people don't like how Han Solo died. Some people don't like a couple of scenes in The Last Jedi, and that's completely fair. And like I said, no movie is without sort of error. But I think the sequels overall have done a really great job of continuing that story. I personally love the whole Skywalker saga. I'm happy that it's going to come to a close, though. I'm very ready for the new trilogy that was just announced coming in 2022, I think. So as far as episode 9 goes, I actually am pretty excited that they linked it all back to Palpatine. Personally, I know a lot of people were upset that they were bringing back an old character, but but deep down in my heart, I kind of knew they were going to do that because it is a part of that same story. When I was at Celebration in Chicago and they showed that trailer on the big screen, the crowd reactions and emotions was absolutely chilling. It was a fantastic, thrilling experience. So I am very excited for episode 9. I do hope we get a big battle, and I do really have high hopes for it. I think it's going to be a great movie, obviously closing out the end to a saga, much like Endgame, so I'm very, very excited to see that. Question comes from WizArt. Have you watched the Resistance or Rebels TV series? I have not watched either. I don't honestly find myself watching too much TV nowadays. It's either me working on a project or editing or fooling around on my computer playing video games, so I don't honestly watch TV too much. I have, however, gotten many recommendations to actually watch Resistance and Rebels, so maybe now is the time. Summer's around the corner. I have a lot more free time comparatively to the college course in the semester, so maybe it's time to actually start watching them. Who knows? Next question comes from TheBrickWiz. Do you clean your Lego? If so, how do you? Most that I do for cleaning Lego in my collection is just literally going to be like submerging in water and then air drying it with like a hair dryer or maybe just like a towel or something like that if something gets too grimy or dusty. But as far as like cleaning the Moc goes, I usually just put like a nice towel over the Moc just to make sure no dust gets on it. But other than that, there's nothing really crazy. I don't do like the whole chemical based sort of adjustments to bricks and make them recolorize. I don't really find myself doing any of that stuff, so it's very simple and minimal as to what I do. Next question comes from BrickKid. What is the hardest part about building Mocs? Now, I've gotten this question sort of a couple of times. Mostly of the time is like, how do you build these big Mocs? The biggest difficulty that I see in terms of building large scale Mocs is it has to be the amount of time that you spend and sometimes how little that work can result in a part of the Moc. So for example, if you're working on a huge 4x4 Moc like my Kessel was, you'll spend weeks and weeks finalizing one base plate, and then when it's done you feel so accomplished, and then you take a look back at the overall project and it's one of 16 base plates. So the hardest thing besides like having money and having parts on hand is definitely got to be the amount of time you spend on the Moc and how little that can actually result in a final product. But my best tip for anyone who is trying to get into that stuff is just to have fun with it, and whenever you feel yourself losing inspiration, just take a break for like a couple of days, come back, and you'll feel really inspired and motivated to go ahead and finish your project. Next question here comes from Nyan Shark Productions, or Nyan Shark Productions. Hopefully I said that right. By the way, is anyone going to do anything for May 4th? I'm going to the Lego store for some Star Wars goodies. Awesome. I did actually put up my May 4th haul video, I believe it was Saturday, so if you guys haven't checked it out, I'll leave a link down below in the description, or you can just go ahead and check it out on the past videos. I do actually have 2 online orders from Shop at Home from Lego that should be coming actually by tomorrow, so that video might be posted by tomorrow, Thursday, so stay tuned for that. But overall, mostly I just got like battle packs and stuff to get more promotions and the posters and stuff like that, so I got nothing crazy comparatively to last year, but I did get some pretty cool stuff. Next question comes from Haran. Question: where do you see the channel and what Mocs do you think you will be making in the future? So in a couple of years from now, I want to say 4 or 5 years, I honestly see myself, if I'm continuing the rate at which I am at right now with the uploads and with the consistency, I do see myself actually having YouTube as a part-time sort of source of income. In terms of projects and Mocs, I do plan on making Endor. Endor has always been a really big project I've wanted to do, and it actually might have been my project if I didn't choose Anaxis. And honestly, that's kind of it in terms of future projects. I've really been focused on obviously getting as much done for Anaxis and getting that kind of well on its way. But in terms of future projects, Endor is definitely one of them. Episode 9, whatever we get from there, I'll probably be doing a mock from there, and then maybe even the Mandalorian and future Clone Wars episodes, maybe even Mandalore. So a lot of projects in the back of my mind for the future, but right now we are focusing on the stuff at hand. And the last question, double up today, comes from Neon Shark again. What is your favorite Star Wars vehicle? Now, this is a really tough question. I'm not gonna lie. I love the concept of the AT-AT and the AT-M6 being these menacing 4-legged walkers on the ground, but I do gotta give some love to my starfighters, and I think that in terms of iconicness, I definitely gotta say the X-Wing is gonna be up there, but I think my absolute favorite ship from Star Wars is definitely, it just has to be the Imperial Star Destroyer. It's like the second thing that you see in A New Hope, right? You see the Tantive 4 going forward, and then you see this massive flagship just following it. It has like a whole bunch of turrets and just so much stuff on it. I think I definitely gotta go with the Imperial Star Destroyer. Now, however, a really close second for me is gonna be a Venator. Now, obviously, they are very closely related. You can make the argument that the Imperial Star Destroyer is actually based off of the Venator, obviously, because in the chronological era of Star Wars, the clones come first, the Republic, and then that transitions into the Empire. So you can say they're very closely related. However, a Venator is absolutely amazing. Now, if you're talking about purely land vehicles, I will go ahead and say the AT-M6. I think the AT-M6 6 is an absolutely menacing walker, which definitely serves its purpose in The Last Jedi. And as far as like fighters go, I'm gonna have to go with X-Wing. It's definitely the most iconic, and I think it definitely is just the coolest with the 4 turrets and just like absolute madness. So guys, that's gonna wrap up this video. I hope you all enjoyed episode 13 of Matt's Mind. Of course, if you guys have any questions, please leave them down below in the comments section and drop a like on the video. Stay tuned tomorrow for a video, and as well as Friday night around 8 or 9 p.m. Eastern time, I will be doing another Anaxis live stream, building up the first corner of the wall. Obviously, Saturday will be week 2 of building Anaxis in LEGO. Really quickly, everyone, thank you all so much for your incredible support in the past couple of months. It's been absolutely amazing, and we got some awesome stuff in the works. I don't want to talk about it too much, but there's some awesome stuff coming up. So I'll see you guys later. Take it easy, fam. Peace.